Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. It's Thursday, but it's not Thursday Tier Talk, of course, because the season is finally over. The curtain is down on it. How are you, my friend? My co-host, the Dazzler.
I'm all right, buddy. Not doing too bad. Hanging
Good,
in there,
good,
as they
good.
say.
Absolutely. Literally. But just to remind you folks, of course, if you could smash go over to YouTube, I should say, and smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Drop a like on all the content, of course. And also don't forget to check out Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. You will find audio versions of the shows are now back there. Just search the Upper Tier, you'll find all our audio shows. And hope you're enjoying our pro wrestling content as well as we bring it to you. I might be doing a little interview next week with Mike Bailey, which should be very, very interesting. Looking forward to that. Speedball.
Speedball, Mike Bailey.
So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, tonight's show, we're going to be talking football. We're going to be talking the treble. We have to get your thoughts on that, of course. We're going to be having a look at kind of an overview of both trebles and just have a discussion about it. We're going to be talking the Ballon d'Or, how the season finished, what's the effect it's going to have on the Ballon d'Or, our thoughts on that. Of course, the fixtures were released today. We're going to be talking about that. And we're going to be talking about United potentially getting oiled up with this Qatari ownership coming in by the looks of things. Let's see what happens there. So plenty to discuss, plenty to talk about, even though the season, and I was saying earlier today on shows, Darren, I'm producing more content than I ever did now when the season was on. And I was looking for a break. But I hope you're enjoying the shows. This is my fourth one today, dare I say. I was on a couple of channels today and
Jesus,
hitting it hard today. 4 in one day. It's not easy. I'm quite drained myself. But let's begin with our friends in the chat. Henry's in. Yo, Dazzler and Niall. Good stuff. New headphones. They don't miss a beat, Dazzler. Sure they don't.
They're not. They're old ones, Henry. The ones I usually wear weren't charged, and I was fighting the clock as usual tonight. And when I came in, I plugged them in, and the battery was dead. And I was like, shit. So I had to plug these ones in. They're not new. These are here a while. Probably do with a new pair, couldn't I?
Absolutely. Big up Daz in there as well. Big up Niall and Dazzler. Absolutely.
Thanks, Daz.
We have the new update from the GP Productions podcast. Any Kai Havertz updates. Morris, you may not want to hear Kai Havertz updates by the sounds of things.
I would agree.
Oh, Niall, no oil funnies, please. Absolutely. And Mark Forrest is in. Evening, everyone. How are you, Mark? Hope you're doing well. And yo, Daz from him.
Thanks for popping in, Mark.
Absolutely, really appreciate everyone's support, help, and input at all times. So let us know your thoughts on some of this stuff. So we're going to knock it out of the park, and we're going to start straight away. Talk to me, the treble. Give me your thoughts first of all on last Saturday, because obviously we've kind of spoken about it, but obviously not on camera. And give me your thoughts on both.
Yeah, listen. Obviously, congratulations to City. It's a great achievement, really, really is. I think they probably didn't hit their straps last weekend. They looked tired. They looked a little bit lethargic. I thought Inter were very good, were in City's faces as much as they could be and stuff like that. I thought the ref let the game go really well as well, which was a pleasure. Because usually we talk about officials as a negative. I'm going to talk about that ref as a positive. Yeah, like we kind of imagined that they were going to get over the line. I don't think anyone thought it was going to be as touch and go as it was near the end, with Inter kind of raining down on goal, But City held firm. Our boy Rodri, I'm claiming Rodri. I love the guy. Love him. I couldn't say a bad thing about the guy. I think he's an unbelievable footballer. And from what I read, he's a pretty decent human being behind it all as well. But yeah, like I thought for me, and it's only a personal thing. I'm not, and I know we're going to do this, but I'm not really in the business of comparing two trebles. Like it's unbelievable to do it. Obviously we did it in '99. City have now done it in 23. It hasn't been done before. It hasn't been done since. And there's not going to be lots of trebles like that. We're not going to see FA Cups, Premier Leagues, and Champions League. It's very, very difficult to do. So, for me, like, massive congratulations to City. They fully deserved it, by the way. They've been phenomenal. And they've been building this under Pep for a couple of years now. And I think this is the culmination in all their hard work,
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of not really a comparison. Like I'm not really going to get down into the bones of it. We are going to have a look at the two teams, but
Yeah.
I don't really want to say that, like, you
Well,
bet Fulham in the FA Cup and they bet Portsmouth
yeah,
or whatever.
right.
Like,
And
that's not the
and I
detail I want to
also
get
and
into
I
because
also heard
yeah,
people trying to compare the two trebles and say
mm,
whose was better. And I'm like, they both won the treble. No one else did it.
the result is the same.
That's you get the same thing. Like you
Yeah,
get three trophies. You know you've done what you've done, and they don't really compare to each other because City did it quite differently than we did. You know, excuse me, like they kind of steamroll teams, certainly through the knockout stages of the Champions League and stuff like that, and some big teams. We didn't necessarily go on that sort of a run, and we were winning by the odd goal every game. Everything was very tight. City kind of, other than the final, steamrolled a lot of teams on the way to it. Now that can tell you two things. It can tell you about the quality of what they're playing against, or it can tell you about the quality of City. And we can't take that away from them. They're a phenomenal team. They really are. Like,
the one thing that came out of last Saturday when it was finished, and obviously we were talking on our WhatsApp group and stuff like that, but the one thing that came to mind after they had won the Champions League was how sick must he feel after pulling off the Carabao Cup to a Nathan Jones Southampton?
yeah, upset is the word because I think if you are going to better a treble, you trump it with a quadruple. And looking back, they're probably, and to be fair to them, they've owned that Carabao Cup for a couple of years now, haven't they?
Yeah.
So it probably wasn't on the radar that they were going to get beaten at all. I watched the game on the night. Southampton were phenomenal, really, and fully deserved their victory. But to think, a couple of months later, the boy Jones is out of work, and Pep and the boys are marching towards a treble is, yeah, it's a funny one,
And
isn't it?
Southampton are heading to the Championship.
It's nuts. Like, it really is nuts.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the two teams and chat about the two teams, of course, because there's interesting dynamics within this and stuff when you look at it.
Yeah.
I got this down off a slide from another site and stuff like that, so I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
how accurate it is on your side. It looks pretty close from what I can see. Anyway, it's not a million miles away off.
It's 100% accurate.
Yeah. How do you feel about the two teams? Talk to me about the two teams. Like, if you were, I suppose here's a good thing to do. If you were picking an 11, talk to me about your 11, maybe.
Yeah, well, like, obviously you're picking your 11. It would depend on what sort of formation you were going to play. And the one thing I will say about those 11s is you're missing a lot of those squad players.
Yeah.
Like in the final, we got Sheringham and Solskjaer to get us on the score sheet. Neither of
Mm.
them are in that 11. Now, that's
Yeah.
not to say I'd pick them ahead of York and Cole, because obviously
Mm.
York and Cole were our first choice partnership that year. But we relied on Solskjaer and on
Yeah.
Sheringham at times
Yeah.
a
The
lot more
impact
than
of the
maybe
bench was massive.
massive for Rutch,
Mm.
huge. And like City have done a lot of rotation. Obviously, you're missing the boy Alvarez, Mahrez, the boy Cole Palmer's played a little bit. Phil Foden, at the back there, Laporte, couple of other players have played good football at City this year. But like if you're going for a straight 11, 1v1, like I can only take Schmeichel. I think the boy Ederson's a fabulous goalkeeper. His distribution is phenomenal, but it doesn't really matter who's on the City side there. I'm picking Peter Schmeichel all day long.
Yeah, it's a fair show. It's a fair show.
And that's not anything against him. Like,
Mm.
if I'm going right back, I'll absolutely take Kyle Walker over Gary Neville.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm going left back, I take Irwin over Aki for me.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the most complete footballers we've ever seen. Internationally and in the Premier League. And at centre back, I'd probably go Diaz and Stam. I think they're the standout centre backs from either team. So yeah, I go Schmeichel, Walker, Stam, Diaz, and Irwin, which is that'd be me back five, so to speak.
Yeah, it'd be
I think
hard.
it's
It's very hard to argue with that on any level. I think most
very
fans
tough.
who experience both will do that. I'm very interested to hear your midfield. The midfield is really going to be interesting.
Yeah, so actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump forward a little bit, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to play a slightly more similar, formation to what City play. As in, we're going to play with three up front,
Okay.
and in the three up front, I'm going to play Giggs on the left and Beckham on the right of Haaland.
Okay. Gigs
Yeah,
on the yeah
Giggs on the
yeah
left, Beckham on the right, Haaland through the
yeah.
middle, which will give me an extra midfielder.
Okay.
Now, when you get to the midfield, that's when the trouble really arises. I'm going to upset loads of people when I go through this here.
That's what
So,
we do.
so for me, as much as I don't like the guy, I can't leave out Roy Keane. I think
Okay.
the stamp he had on us, especially that season, was massive.
Yeah.
He dragged us through that in Turin and stuff like that against Juve. Obviously, missing the final was massive. But I play Keane in there, and I probably play him in alongside the boy Rodri. And I'm a huge fan of Rodri. I just think he's phenomenal. Do we need two defensive midfielders with what we've got out on the pitch? Maybe not. But I don't like having to choose between Keane and Rodri. So I'm going to put them both in. And then for me, your number 10, who's going in behind Haaland and in the middle of Carter Giggs and Beckham, will be Scholes. I think De Bruyne is a fabulous footballer. I think Gundogan's a great footballer. I just think they're not quite Paul Scholes. And like that's a tough thing to say because Kevin De Bruyne is a really, really tough footballer. And some people might say I'm being those tinted glasses that's making me do it, but I'm going to go Keane and Rodri, and then I'm going to go Scholes, Beckham, Giggs, and Haaland.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So what have we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 7 United and 4 City.
Interesting, isn't it?
What would you go with yourself?
I think I'd be fairly similar. The only thing I would say where I would make the change, I like that idea of Haaland, Giggs, and Beckham. Very interesting. I don't know. Does De Bruyne give you just a bit more than Scholes? But I mean, that's a flip of a coin, really.
That's a coin flip.
Yeah,
that's the way I felt about Keane and Rodri.
Yeah.
So actually, what I could do is flip the coin on Keane or Rodri, and then put Scholes and De Bruyne in. You could do it either way, and I don't think you're doing anyone a disservice, really, because you're having the conversation, and on any given day, those guys are as good as each other type thing,
Yeah, as you said, it's very hard to pick as well, because when you look at the benches as well, they have come on and had a huge impact.
Absolutely.
In both seasons as well, you're never going to go through with just a core 11, Yeah, it was good to hear your thoughts on it, yeah, but it's very, very difficult to compare them and stuff like that. Different times in football,
The one thing I will say is I think I'd have paid money to see David Beckham put a ball on Haaland's head, because I think that could have been scary.
Yeah, absolutely, and even
when you look
Giggs
at
on the other side.
Giggs on the other side, Giggs would have been your get to the byline and square it back to the 6-yard box, to the penalty spot maybe, and he'd sweep stuff in that way. Whereas Beckham would have been ball comes back to him first time, ping.
It's interesting when you mention Giggs there, because if Giggs was in that interside the other night, he would have squared the ball to Lukaku, wouldn't he? As opposed to take that opportunity that Laturo tried to take. So yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if anyone squares that ball to Lukaku, and they'd be right by the way.
I don't know. He was running in there on the 5-yard line. I'm not saying he would have scored.
Because he got a City defender behind him and coming across the front of him. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, he had stole a yard though. He was pretty free, in fairness. Lataro was just a bit greedy and stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely interesting. Before we get into news, we have to talk about the Ballon d'Or, and I know you've a lot of thoughts on this, and I know you talk about Rodri being the better all-round footballer and what he brings to the team, stuff like that. But Haaland scores the goals,
Absolutely.
and
it tends to be a goal scorer.
Yeah,
it tends to be someone with crazy off the charts numbers.
Yeah.
And if that's the way we're going, on the back of a Benzema last year, it is a Haaland this year.
Yeah.
It
So
will
you reckon he shades it over Messi's World Cup?
So
that's kind of what it's going to come down to, isn't it?
I think you've got to look at, the fact the World Cup took place over, 4 to 6 weeks. The season took place over 6 to 8 months. And over the period of time, there's no comparison between Haaland and Messi. Haaland's streets ahead. Absolutely streets ahead. And what he done, obviously, in the Premier League, what he done in the FA Cup, what he done in... Messi lifted the World Cup and he dragged his team to a World Cup. And we won't forget it for a long time. It was an amazing World Cup and it was great to see him get his trophy and stuff like that. But, nothing stacks up to what Haaland has done this year for me. Individually and collectively with his team.
Have we ever seen a player come in to have as good a very first season in the Premier League?
No, I don't think so.
Not even from numbers, but even from an impact point of view.
I suppose when you look at raw impact, that's that's what you're looking at. Because again, I don't necessarily think he's the most amazing footballer in the world, but his timing, his being in the right place at the right time, his speed, his power, his the way he's that's so cutthroat and clinical about things, it's been phenomenal for him. Really, really has. And we did, we did think that there was a possibility this could happen because we spoke about City, they're unbelievable. What will they be like with a goal scorer? And we said, it could work really, really well, or it could kind of fall in the middle where they're not playing the type of football that feeds somebody like that. Well, I think early on in the season, we saw that it was kind of difficult for them. And they weren't necessarily making the runs and they weren't putting the balls in the right areas and stuff like that. And obviously, as they built up a bit of a rapport with each other and struck up that relationship and stuff, you saw the best of Haaland,
Yeah, absolutely. 775 lads. Make sure you're subbing to the channel and stuff like that. We are growing. Morris saying any Mason Mount updates appreciated too. Oh, Henry. Yeah, absolutely.
The pantomime villain that is Morris Shortall, huh?
Absolutely. I'm on Henry's channel tomorrow, actually doing an interview at 7 if anyone wants to join in.
Very good.
Morris is on. United's treble is more organic.
I think it's difficult to go in on stuff like that. I don't think anyone, listen, any update on 115 charges. I understand where people are going with that, but I still think it's very difficult to take away what they did on the pitch. I think it's important that we try and bring things back to the footballing side rather than just. And don't get me wrong, I'm a United fan, so if I wanted to taint this, City treble with their 125 charges or whatever it is, I could. It's not what it's about for me. It's about what they done on the pitch. What they did off the pitch will be spoken about and stuff, but what they've done on the pitch that'll be remembered for a long time.
Morris is in. Haired Eddie, we're going to be talking about this. Haired Eddie went to Tesco's today for a £1 litre of milk, offered to shop 80 cents, and the shop assistant said, sorry, that's a pound, mate. Eddie left with no milk. Interesting. Should
have got himself a bag of rice.
Yeah, shouldn't have been shopping for milk in the first place. Jochen does, but Manchester fans won't come on LFC channels. Don't know about that. It's Manchester fan on here right now. It's not necessarily an LFC channel, but
no.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up to Henry as well. 135 subs on this channel.
When the schedule allows a Henry, I'll pop on for you some, my pal. Absolutely, no problem.
Yeah. City will be winning the first 6 games comfortably. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about the fixtures now in a minute. That was very interesting as well. Yeah, so where to begin? Let's talk some transfer news before we get into the fixtures. Newcastle popping up with a 50 million bid for Nicolo Barella. Apparently it was rejected straight away.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be getting him out of there for 50 million. And not when the background to it is that your owners are swimming in cash.
Well, Newcastle's owners are, but
Yeah,
Inter's owners aren't. They're
yeah,
under
that's what I
massive
mean.
pressure to
Newcastle's.
do
Yeah.
to balance the books. I think it's an opening offer. Do I necessarily see Nicolo Barella at Newcastle next season? I don't know. It's a little bit of a stretch for me. I think there'd be a lot of clubs interested in Barella if he was on the market at that 50 to 70 million pound market. And there might be a couple that would trump Newcastle.
We're now going to have to talk about our favourite subject, Chelsea. Rejected a United bid for 40 million for Mason Mount. I'm sure that makes you happy. And maybe they might continue rejecting with a bit of luck.
It's a double-edged sword, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I saw it first of all, and I said the first thing I thought was, Jesus, they've a brass neck, haven't they?
Yeah.
With 12
Absolutely.
months left, they've a brass neck.
And an academy player with no balance on the balance sheet.
Right? So, this is money going straight into the kitty and helping you to balance the books, lads. Let's not be silly about this. Strange. Does anything that happens at Chelsea shock me? No. But in the same note, Chelsea will have a figure in their head that if we get there, they'll press the release. Do I think we'll get there? I think we probably will. Am I overjoyed at the thought of Mason Mount? I'm kind of in between. I like Mason Mount. I think there's plenty of positives there. But I'm not sure if he's exactly the footballer we need right now. However, I'm willing to say what Eric Ten Hag and his team did last year from a recruitment point of view, and then obviously on the pitch, was a huge upturn in our fortunes. So if that's what he wants, I'm of the opinion we should give the manager what he's looking for, and we will hold him accountable later on.
What did you make of this? Like we've talked about the mess that's there at Chelsea, and then you've got conflicting information coming out between today and yesterday. On one hand, they're trying to get the boy Onana out of Inter Milan. They're talking about trying to wrap it up in a kind of a deal, maybe using Trevor Chalobah, who was a Koulibaly potentially going back to Italy, or Romelu Lukaku in some sort of deal. Surely Onana, if he moves out of Inter Milan, he's thinking he's going in there, he wants to be number one. But then you have another story coming out today that they've declared that Kepa's going to be number one. So that
I don't believe the Kepa thing at all. I think it's the very first thing you do if you go into Chelsea is you get a goalkeeper, because the two that are there, you can't make one between them.
Yeah, well, I think Mendy's going to go out of the building anyway.
I think there's an argument for both of them going if you can get any sort of a fee.
But you're probably not going to bring in two keepers, are you?
No, well, they've just signed the boy, the American lad, haven't they? Slanina. I know he's on loan and stuff, but I'll be willing to take a small loan deal or something, bring somebody in, the way like United brought a Jack Butland or something like that in to just play in the background. But I think the goalkeeping position at Chelsea is going to be massive. Really, really massive. I think there's a lot of clubs looking for number ones at the minute. Ours and my own club included.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important. And when you look at teams like, Inter and City who get to Champions League finals, I think I read a comment from Pep after the game. And he was actually talking about Onana, and he said, you know what, this game would be so much easier if this keeper wasn't playing. And it was nothing to do with his shot stop, and it was the way he moves the ball around with his feet and the option he gives Inter. And I just thought, that was his focus. His focus wasn't necessarily Lukaku, Dzeko, Martinez. His focus was this all starts with the keeper.
Yeah,
he's the one we need to get to. If we get to him, we cut off the. And it was a really interesting piece, and obviously how highly he's rated then as well.
Yeah,
because he is a good shot stopper. He commands that box. He's a big lad, but also he's able to put the ball on the deck and knock it around pretty well as well.
I kind of describe him as a keeper that makes me very nervous in a comfortable type of way.
Isn't that indicative of all of those keepers though?
Yeah,
who want to take an extra touch. Like you look at, if we're talking about keepers who are extremely good with their feet, like the first two to come to mind are Alisson and Ederson. But we know both keepers have been caught out with howlers in the last 18 months.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're so comfortable. But I mean, if you look at the amount of times it happens compared to the amount of times they do it, you see how small the percentage is of times that they make some sort of an issue for themselves, you know? Like, they could do that 10 times a game and 10 times you're okay, and only once every couple of weeks there's an issue, you know?
Yeah, a couple of Irish internationals coming up. I believe you have an invite to the Aviva, apparently.
This is the first time I've got the invite. I don't know if I am, Morris. I think I might be working. We might have to discuss this off air.
Yeah, absolutely. Acer's Mount isn't even worth 40 pence. Yeah, let's see.
I think, listen, he's a good age. No, he is a good age. His set piece and delivery is very, very good. You know, he's got a great engine, picks a pass, can create, can score. Like, I don't have any huge issues with the kid. I really don't. I don't think he was used. I don't think anybody at Chelsea was used in the kind of way the manner they'd be looking for last season. So I don't have a big issue with Mount, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be judging a lot of their players on last season.
Absolutely not.
But I still think to have that neck to look for 70 million on a final year in a contract of a player who basically was a bench player last year, didn't get involved too much, and when he did was quite poor. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to change it up a little bit here for you. The 49ers Enterprises looking to take 100% control of Leeds, but we being big golf fans as well. Apparently, Ricky Fowler wants to get involved. Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas.
This.
Yeah, they kind of
it
generated my interest. This did now, in fairness.
Well, it's coming off the back of JJ Watt, obviously coming out, and he's got a minority stakeholder in Burnley now, doesn't he? JJ Watt, the American footballer, just hung up his boots kind of at the end of last year and stuff. And I think there's a Netflix documentary coming about how himself and the wife are going to try and, because his wife's an ex-soccer player. She's part of that WTA, the US women's football team and all that. She was part of that, and I think they're going to do a little documentary on it, which should be good. It's exposure for the league. It's exposure for the club. I don't think it's bad at all, you know.
Yeah, and the caddy Billy Foster, he's a big Leeds fan apparently. So
yeah,
nice little connection there.
Billy's probably got a connection at Ellen Road, and he's, you know, it's something he would have. He'd have been talking to the lads about and telling them. And listen, let's not forget, like, Leeds are a little bit of a sleeping joint still. For my money. They are. There's the support at Leeds, whether you like them or not. I'm a United fan. We generally don't like Leeds, but Leeds are a phenomenally supported club. Still are, even in this country. You know, Elland Road is packed week to week. Fans are there. They're spending their money, and they deserve better, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and of course, surrounding themselves with people like these who are serial winners helps as well. These guys have a drive to win. They generally don't fail both in business and in sports. So
yeah, correct.
It'd be interesting to keep an eye on it. Let's talk about the front end of United. Let's talk about, obviously, links with Kane. Looks like the price of Levy is going to be just a bit painful to deal with. Also linked with Victor Osimhen off Napoli. Big money there as well. Do you see United moving for either of these two boys and splashing the cash? Is it all hinging on the takeover?
I think the takeover will play a big part in it, all right. Excuse me. I think the takeover will play a huge part in it. Obviously, you've got the debt and the stuff like that that's being serviced at the minute. But I mean, if the debt is taken away and the club becomes a little more self-sufficient, there's going to be some extra money there for what we would like to do. I think they're talking at the minute, we've 100 to 150 million plus what we can get off the books. So if you could get 100 off, and if you've got 150 to spend, that's nearly $250 million to lay out on players. It's a good chunk of change. I think the boy Osimhen is going to be huge money. I think he's, you know, Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice sort of money. I think Kane, you could possibly get out cheaper if we weren't, like, if you were a Bayern or a Real, I think you could go and get Kane out. I think the issue is going to be dealing with Levy because apparently he doesn't want to strengthen his competition. Your competition, Daniel. You're no fucking competition for Man United, pal. And we're not even that great anymore. But you are competition right now. Competition for us.
Competition right now, and no disrespect to them, is Palace, Brentford, and Fulham, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I there was actually a little transfer I was going to discuss He's second one. He bit as well, didn't he?
They don't miss a beat, sure
They miss nothing. They're not new, you know. They're not new.
Miss a beat.
Yeah. They're not beats either. They're Adidas. They're the monster ones from Adidas to come across the top and all.
Yeah,
anyways, let me go back to something now. I did see a little transfer that I liked the look of. I thought it was a really, really clever one. And there's a guy we spoke about a lot last season. We bigged him up at the start of the season. He didn't hit his straps. And then halfway through the season, he really got motoring and finished like an absolute train. And that's one Brennan Johnson. And Brentford had a £30 million offer rejected by Forest yesterday. Now, I thought, hold on a minute. They've put 30 on for the boy Brennan Johnson, and we've offered 40 for Mount. Now, am I missing something here? You know?
It's a madness. The whole thing is a madness.
Now, listen, don't forget, you're obviously paying the English tax on Mason Mount. But he's a spacer. Yeah, I just thought it was funny. I thought it was a great piece of business, though, for Brentford if they could get it done. You know, another really good footballer, the boy Brennan Johnson, going in with, obviously Visa and Mbuemo and the boy Shade, who they've just made permanent from Freiburg, came in January on a loan and looked really good.
And the issues with Tony.
Yeah. You know, they're trying to address their issue. David Ray is on the way out. They've already signed the keeper Fricken from Germany for like 16 million as a replacement. That's done before Ray has even left the building. And the same thing, you know, Tony's obviously going to be out for a little while. They're going to get Brennan Johnson or somebody of that kind of ilk. And you just think, how is it that Brentford just know what to do all the time? You know, they're just such a well-run club, aren't they?
Yeah, damn it, bro. Thomas Frank is outstanding.
He is, but don't forget, it's not Thomas Frank that's doing a lot of this. Like, they have a serious scouting network behind the scenes, and you know, like you've got to have a lot of faith in what the guy at the helm of the ship is doing as well. That you just say, listen, that's what he wants, give it to him. Just give it to him, you know. And then again, if we get to a later stage and things aren't going well, I can turn around and say, listen, you asked for this, you asked for that, we gave you this, you gave you that, didn't work. Now you're going to fall on your sword or whatever. But listen, if I'm giving a manager a job, I need to give him the tools to do the job. That's imperative.
Absolutely. Yeah, and of course we have to mention R.I.P. Gordon McQueen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Big old basers. Morrison, Martial got double the amount of league goals, 6, and Mount last year, 3. I don't know if either of those stats are worth discussing. I was
going to say, yeah.
Or celebrating in any way, shape,
form. Well, I know for fact we're not going to get 40 to 50 for Anthony Martial, put it that way.
Yeah, Niall, you know that chat, well, what I added you last night, I'll be adding a fantasy league and Super 6 to it. Brilliant as, yeah, we'll be all up for that. I'll link Darren into that as well. Darren loves that stuff.
Sure do, you know.
I kind of get a little bit jaded by it after a while, you know. I was never a big football man.
Now, by a while, you mean 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, 3 weeks, yeah. If players were injured and you got points for that, I'd be flying.
You'd be top of the league at that stage.
New green headphones, Darren. He's on fire
new
tonight.
Green Morris, yeah.
He's on fire tonight. Morris, you should be sending Eddie all Central dog food and treats for free. He'd take it for free too. And Dad's keeping us updated. Spain 2, Italy 1 in the other half of that Nations League. What did you make of last night?
I didn't see it. I was actually on court late and stuff like that. So by the time I got home, I'd missed it. I saw the highlights. Obviously, I thought the Dutch kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit. But I got to be honest, 4 really poor teams.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it?
Like, the Dutch weren't amazing and haven't been. Croatia, you know, you're going to get with Croatia. They're solid, workmanlike, absolutely. And that's all it's about, really. Spain are a really poor team. Spain are awful. And they're 2-1 up against a worse Italy, I would describe them as. Really strange. Devoid of any sort of creativity, both teams, you know.
Does that say something about the condition of European football at international level at the moment?
Yeah, I suppose you've got a much sort of broader horizon with international football these days, because you look at certain teams and they're teams that we would have said were, going to be the whipping boys in a group and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, they've got one or two world players on their team. Like it's happened over the years like that. Some players have, some countries have just churned out footballers, and that's slowed down a little bit in some parts, and in other parts it's really picked up. Like we're talking about more and more, say, kids from the US. Oh, that kid from the US, good player. The kid from Australia, really good player. The young Senegalese lad, really good footballer. It's not necessarily Brazilian. It's not necessarily Portuguese.
We seen it in the World Cup, didn't we? We seen how many stars came out of the World Cup well down off those bigger sides and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Many players established themselves, especially from the African nations as well. Yeah, absolutely. One final one I want to talk about before we get into the fixtures. Mbappe, it's coming out that he has a kind of a year to go. He's not going to take up the option. He's not going to accept the option of the other year. Sounds like he wants to go out to Real. Apparently, he's wrote a letter to Perez apologising for the antics of last year's transfer window. PSG have to get money off this guy. He can't go on a free, can he?
It's hard to know. I think I read something yesterday that Macron was saying he's going to get involved again. You're just like, politics and sport don't mix, pal. Just stay in your office and your shitty suits. Like, don't be getting involved, will you? You're ruining the country. Let's not ruin any football clubs while you're at it. I think it'd be tough for Real, I have to be honest. Like, they've obviously spent 115 million on the boy Bellingham today, which I gotta be honest with you. I think it's fucking cheap. I think they got him cheap. Like, the initial outlay is 88 million pounds sterling, which is like which is like 95 euros or whatever it is. He's unbelievable. To think that they're stockpiling midfielders, Tchouaméni, Camavinga,
they're set for
Valverde.
They're set for a decade.
Well, they need to be, because they're looking at Casemiro, who's left. They're looking at Kroos and Modric now coming to the end of their tether at the club as well. So,
and they also need to bounce back. They would regard this season would have been a poor season for them.
Well, no trophies in the cabinet. Not what they say. No trophies in the cabinet. Morris talks about it all the time. Big dropping of the ball for Real this year. I think they put all their eggs in the basket of the Champions League, and then all of a sudden ran into the City juggernaut and didn't know what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they do the business. I think PSG to let him go on a free next year would go down in history.
But I mean, what are you talking about? How much are you talking about then?
They were talking the other day 150 million euros
for a guy with a year left. Why would I pay a penny?
I know, but we're not talking about a guy.
Of course we're not.
The guy.
Yeah, but don't forget, he's also in France. And that means in January, he can negotiate with clubs outside of the country. So I'll sit till January, thanks. And I'll wait for the conversation with Real and I'll sign the deal. And if at that stage, PSG want to get 50 million from me in January, fine and dandy. So I'm getting the big signing on fee and I'm getting everything I want. You know what I mean? If I'm Mbappe, I'm not moving anywhere right now.
And hasn't been the easiest guy to work with or deal with either for a guy of his age.
No, absolutely not.
This is my fear. PSG ready to pounce for Mo Salah for Kylian Mbappe replacement. That would be one of my concerns without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, they're definitely going to replace Mbappe with Salah, because Mbappe plays off the left or through the middle and Salah plays off the right. So that ain't happening for a start. If you watch football, you knew that, Acers. You're talking about again.
Well, you know the talk as well. I mean, obviously there's a lot of talk about Neymar and obviously Messi exiting the building as well. So there would be plenty around.
Messi might be replaced by Salah because they both play in the same position. But you're not replacing Kylian Mbappe with Salah, because they play in two different positions completely. Like, let's not be foolish about this here.
Not that PSG ever cared about positions when they were signing players anyway. Let's be honest here.
Stockpiling, lads. Absolutely, stockpiling, lads.
Absolutely. Let's get into the fixtures then. Let's talk about the first 5 matches. We won't talk about all the clubs. We'll focus on some of it.
We'll only focus on the good ones.
Yeah, if you look at ourselves, Liverpool, we've a tough enough start, haven't we? Chelsea away, Bournemouth at home. Newcastle away, Aston Villa at home, and Wolves away.
I got to be honest. I think in the first 5, there's no easy days out.
Mm.
Everyone's going to be at it. You look at somebody like Burnley, who went back training last week with Vince and company. They're going to be out of the blocks like an absolute train. You've obviously got City coming back on a high. Chelsea under Pochettino. Gary O'Neill at Bournemouth will spend a few pounds. So will Villa. So will Newcastle. Wolves, going to be even better under Julian Lopetegui next season. Like, I don't see very many easy games in the league, if I'm honest.
I think I was talking on a channel earlier. I was on Henry's channel earlier. We were talking about the opening day fixtures.
Yeah.
And I was just give me 1 second here. I want to bring it up so I get it right. And I was thinking that Friday night fixture, Burnley versus Man City. I think that's kind of fitting as a fixture. When we talk about the Community Shield being the kind of curtain opener, and it's the FA Cup winner versus the league winner, or whatever combination, depending on how it goes, of course, if you do a double or whatever. But I was thinking the Premier League winner versus the Championship winner is it's a cool way to open up the season, isn't it? And probably that's the way it probably should be. It's pretty cool, like. And then I was thinking,
absolutely.
obviously, you have Pep and Vince and company as well, which is kind of cool as well.
Well, that's the background story to it, isn't it? But I do like the idea of the Championship winners and the league winners meeting on the first day. I think that's a nice idea. I think it's something we could maybe adopt in years to come. But I mean, it's Burnley are going to be tough and be resolute under Vince and company. Do not write Burnley off in that game against City. Do not write them off. We know what way City are going to come back. They'll be slow coming back. And it'll be difficult in the first few games to get things going the way they want to, because
Turf Moor as well.
Turf Moor Friday night under the lights. The music will be pumping. The Burnley lads will be 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking like a boss with those headphones.
Thanks,
yes, he is just phenomenal.
He's talking about AJ Styles,
maybe. He's often said to me privately that he gets shades of AJ Styles off you at times when he sees on screen. Yeah. Anything else? What kicks out? What kicks out here? Look at United's start. Wolves, Spurs, Forest, Arsenal, Brighton. It's tough start as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not easy. I think obviously we got the three home games, like Wolves, Forest, and Brighton. Like, we have to be looking to get 9 points out of that. And if we can pick up a draw at the lane and a draw thing, be unbeaten after 5 and have 11 points on the board, be a phenomenal start for us.
The way, here's an idea for you as well. And I know obviously there's the Amazon games and the broadcasting rights and the different channels and all that kind of stuff. Should the first day of the season be the same as the last day of the season? That everyone kicks off on the Saturday or the Sunday at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whatever it is? Because you're waiting now till Monday. You're the Monday night football. And
I'm all right with that. I'll have loads to do over the course of the week. I actually feel, and it was only when I saw the schedule earlier, it was much more like what I spoke about a little while ago. You've your game on the Friday night, you've your Saturday game, you've your 3 o'clocks, you've your Saturday evening game, you've your early on the Sunday, you've your afternoon on the Sunday, and you've the Monday night. I think it's unreal because it allows people watch as much of that live as they can and as they want to.
Yeah. How does that affect you holiday-wise? I know I won't get to see that one because I'll be on the way to Orlando.
What date is the 14th?
14th, Monday the 14th.
Yeah, don't go on holiday till the 19th.
You're all right then. You're covered then. That's all right then.
I'm all right for the first one. The second one, I actually think I'm traveling that day. I think we're the 19th, aren't we? Are we the 19th on the second one? Is that right? Let me just have a little look here.
5 days later.
I think I think that's right.
Yeah, it's probably about right. The Saturday, yeah.
The Saturday and let me see now, August. Yeah, the Saturday the 19th, we're away at Spurs. And I travel on the 19th. So that'll leave things difficult. I'll probably land in Logan, in Boston, and find out we've either won, lost, or drawn a game at Spurs and start throwing shit at fucking, fuck's sake. They've ruined me holiday already. I'm only off the bleeding plane.
You're only a WhatsApp call away. Don't worry. What about City's? What about City's first 5 matches there? What you're making on that? They probably got the easier of the bigger teams, did they?
Yeah, listen, it's not awful. It's not awful. I don't think the Burnley game's an easy one. They've got Newcastle, but it's at home, so that'll be a little bit easier than if it was away. And then I think, you're going to newly promoted Sheffield United. Tough game, but expect a win. Same against Fulham and same against West Ham. Like, if City were out with 13 points out of that, I wouldn't be shocked. I really think Burnley will get something off them.
See these Villa fans now coming out of the woodwork.
Here we go.
Here we go. What's up, lads? How are you, Noel? Hope you're doing well. Noel's my buddy. He was back with me last week. He lives over in Arizona. I'm actually Noel's child, Jacob. I'm his godfather and stuff like that. So yeah, bit of crack.
Pretty good. Well, it's a good evening, Noel. Good evening.
That's it. Good evening. TV fixtures won't be released until July. Absolutely. And Noel says, Orlando, Noel, should I put the kettle on? You're in Arizona, my friend. That would be quite a trip for a cup of tea.
I was going to say, yeah. I wouldn't like to get dragged there by me town halls.
Is Orlando not kind of in the middle between me and you, nearly? Kind of. Absolutely, yeah. So that's the opening day. I had to look at the final day as well. Did you go that far? Did you look that far?
Yeah, we're away at Brentford, aren't we?
Yeah, no, you're away at Brighton.
Brighton.
Yeah, Brighton final day. You're away. Yeah, Brentford are.
Why did I think we were
Newcastle.
away at Brentford?
Because maybe you were praying.
I thought we were away at.
No, Brighton, according to this. Newcastle are away at Brentford, apparently.
Okay. Yeah, listen. Hard to know what kind of shape we'll be in at that stage, us or Brighton. And going on last year, that could be a Champions League game. That could be somebody looking for a Champions League spot last couple of days of the season, but we'll have to wait and see. A lot of games to go. I mean, at that stage, many managers will be down in the league. You just wouldn't know it, would you?
Do you know the interesting thing I noticed as well? The 3 promoted sides are all at home the last day of the season.
Okay.
Burnley, Luton and Sheffield United all at home. And we're playing Wolves. We're at home to Wolves. Last time we were at home to Wolves, we were 20 minutes away from winning the league as part of the quad push.
And you won nothing that season, am I right?
No, we did.
You did the 2 cup double.
We did the 2 cup double, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
but you didn't win the quad.
Yeah.
Trebles, Niall, they're not for everybody.
I know, yeah. I have one, but not quite that one. Hey, Hodger, how are you, Noel? And Noel, only 2,000 miles, Noel. 2,000 miles, yeah, but it's only about, what is it? It's only about 5,500 miles, I think, to Orlando from here or something like that. Feels a lot longer, but it's about, 500 mile an hour roughly by 10 hours. So it's about 5,000 miles, yeah.
Jesus.
Absolutely, so it's not too far off. We're so significant in a big world, aren't we? Or insignificant, I should say. Anything stick out to you again on the final day? Anything else come out there? Arsenal versus Everton.
Could Sean Dyche be taking Arsenal title off them again and trying to keep Everton back in the league? You'd have to hope not for Everton's sake, but you couldn't rule it out either, could you?
No, absolutely not. Well, I get back and see what else we want to talk about. What else is in here that's kind of tasty?
Just tell me when you're ready for me tea towel. I have it here ready.
It's not far off. It's coming. Don't worry. It's coming. Imagine they allow Ratcliffe to come in with another bid or something.
I think when we saw the documentation today about Sheikh Jassim's company, the public liability company being set up and stuff like that today.
Did you hear that? I was listening to Ben Jacobs was on the United stand this afternoon, and he was saying
just another reason not to watch the United stand.
And he was saying that be careful looking at a lot of those things and getting excited, because obviously they can be put together and they may not be legit. And he's actually, in fairness to him, he's quite close to this Qatari situation. He's done work over there as well, and he was over there during the World Cup and various other things as well. But he was saying that if Qatar were allowed to come in and make another bid and improve their case and stuff like that, how why wouldn't Jim Ratcliffe be allowed to do the same potentially and stuff like that?
Well,
But
the
I suppose
first
the other
issue
line
is,
thing for you is you need it done, don't
well,
you?
the first problem is, Ben, he doesn't have the fucking money. So let's not be silly here, pal, will we? Jesus Christ.
But he's only looking for 50%, isn't he?
He's not getting 50% of Jacob's fucking cream crackers at the end of this. Like, go back to supporting Chelsea, will you, Radcliffe? With your Chelsea season ticket holder and all. You absolute big time Charlie. He throw his
Acers.
hat in the ring, make it look like he wants to buy the club, and hasn't got a euro in his back pocket. Get up out of that, will you?
Maybe he pulled out because he had to pay for the season ticket at Chelsea, was it?
Yeah.
Do you know,
He should have pulled out earlier. I heard he has 2 dopey bleeding offspring walking around as well, doesn't he?
Acers, Arsenal won't be in title race next season. Don't just drop that, Acers. Tell us why. Why do you think that? Give us a bit of meat on the bone there.
Because they're about to drop 65 million on Kai Havertz.
That's crazy. Now I'm going to get your thoughts on that in a minute as well. Off topic for Dazzler, would you be bowling or batting first if you was Stokes tomorrow?
I'd be batting first and I'd be putting a number up there that's 100%. And I'd try and put something on the board, something in the 400s. And then I'd get into that Australian top order. Because I think England have enough firepower to trouble the Aussies. Gotta be honest. Looking forward though. Should be good. I'm a bit of a cricket fan, you know. I spent last Sunday afternoon in Malahide Cricket Club watching Malahide and Clontarf's first team. And
still paying for it.
And Clontarf gave Malahide a little bit of a spanking, I can tell you. Really good side. They were pretty good. Enjoyed it.
Now, would the fans at this be quite rowdy now, or what's the story? Or would it be all
very relaxed?
Strawberries and cream?
Strawberries and cream, bottles of wine at picnic tables. Now, the one thing I will tell you is those cricket balls they're pretty heavy. And at one stage, somebody shouted...
Oh, no.
Somebody shouted, you know, to
duck.
Well, it was more of a duck or get down. And would you believe the cricket ball came through the picnic table? Came through the top of it.
Through the boards.
Through the boards.
Imagine I had to hit you between the shoulder blades.
Imagine I had to hit one of the 40 kids that were running around playing football on their bare feet.
Yeah, that cricket's a real dangerous sport. You shouldn't be going to
that.
Stay away from it.
God,
what would I do if you ended up in hospital? How would this podcast go if you ended up in hospital? Good Lord, absolutely.
I'd have the headphones in with me, don't you worry.
Yeah, so there you go. So Jib has to sell Nice to have any hope. He can't even sell players at the moment. They're allowed to sell Nice. No. He's nearly destroyed that club as well when you think about where they were when he took over to where they are now. Really poor. Mark, I have 2 tickets to the United game in the Aviva, looking to sell €500 each, lads. If Maguire starts, we'll give away for free.
If Maguire's starting, you'll have to pay someone to take the spot, Mark.
Absolutely. Marta saying Arsenal won't be because City will run away with it again.
I think there's plenty of meat on the bone there. You know, yeah. I think this will be a tough season for City. Just because there's going to be a lot of hunger gone from that squad. Excuse me. And it's going to be interesting to see how Guardiola, you know, spices things up. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go on and win a couple of Champions Leagues. Now they have one in the bag. But at times they could take their foot off the gas in the league in order to achieve that, you know, a la Madrid over the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Liverpool are going to be, you know, right back at it this year. I think United are gonna put a better foot forward. I think you've got Arsenal making another claim. I think Chelsea can't possibly be as bad as they were last season, and I think Spurs will still be shit.
Yeah, I think the thing you have to factor in as well, if you look at City at the end of that Champions League, they were mentally and physically destroyed when you think about it. And if Inter had more belief and a bit more about them and stuff like that, they probably could have went on and won it, to be honest. But I think they'll have to recover from that as well, and that takes a bit out of them as well. When you play that amount of games with that amount of pressure on you as well, you seem to drop off in Liverpool in trying to achieve the quad as well and playing every game available.
I think the recovery from the celebrations will be difficult enough. I saw Jack Grealish was back out on the training pitch today. I thought, you know what, Jack, fair play to you, man, you're a hero. Because that lad had to get wheelchaired out of a hotel towards a plane to get back to Manchester from Ibiza.
But
He's brilliant.
they were only doing kind of rondos. They weren't doing much, and I seen he was sitting beside Essay as well, and the two of them were kind of just chatting away as well. They weren't putting in a whole lot, in fairness.
He's some boy, Jack. Really, he's a very hard guy to not like.
Yeah,
He does
absolutely.
endear himself to a lot of people with how he talks and how he does things. You know, he's a very sort of a humble, and he's a very sort of a you know, I wouldn't say grounded is the word I'd use, but it's certainly he's a working class kid and he knows what it's about, you know.
Yeah, it was interesting even after the final when he said, like, I was kind of crap. You know,
Do you know what I
he
mean?
was
Like, just
brutally honest with himself, but does he care? Why would he care about what he's done and stuff like that?
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's it. So Morris is on Arsenal one because City with the run in again and stuff like that. Yeah. What have you made of Arsenal at the moment? Obviously interested in Declan Rice. Apparently lodged a bid of 80 million, which was rejected. No surprise, of course. They've obviously been interested in the boy Caicedo as well, but doesn't look like that's probably not going to pan out. And then being linked with Kai Havertz, which was the weirdest link for me.
Listen,
What's your thoughts on the Kai Havertz one first?
Well, first I think Rice and Caicedo are two players that would be unbelievable in Arsenal. You know, they're like if you put them in as a midfield and you play one as a hold and one as a box to box, and then you play an Odegaard in front. I think that's improved on even what they had. Obviously, Jack is leaving the building, and Partey, we don't know, could have some issues good this season depending on how things go behind the scenes. I think Caicedo and Rice will be all unbelievable additions to Arsenal. They really, really would. Kai Havertz was a very strange one. That came out of left field for me. Arsenal are missing a goal scorer, an out and out number 9, somebody to balance the books, you know, for the likes of Saka and Jesus and Martinelli, somebody to play through the middle and just be a poacher. And that is not Kai Havertz. We've seen that at Chelsea. He is not that guy. His numbers are extremely poor. He's way more of a number 10 than a number 9. And I don't even know how he fits into the Arsenal team, let alone the squad.
Yeah, absolutely. Daz is in. Did you hear about the short numbers? No, I haven't heard that. Did you hear anything about that there?
Nothing.
Fill us in, Daz. Let us know what it is, and we'll let you know our thoughts. Maguire will be Tottenham player by United game week 2. Darren would be hoping sooner.
Well, it's been muted a little bit, isn't it? I suppose if the one thing I will say though, if I look at somebody like a Postecoglou, who's obviously coming out from Celtic, he played 4. Excuse me. Maguire is not getting into a back 4 at Tottenham's level, or he shouldn't. You know, because we've seen all along any of his good games, any of his better games, he was playing in a back 5 for England where he had guys that could flank him and recover from and make him look like he could do something. But if they put him into a back 4 with the likes of Christian Romero, they could be in big trouble. They could be in huge trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of feel with Dyer there as well. They kind of have their Spurs version of Maguire is kind of there already, really, isn't it? When you think about it,
Dyer shouldn't be near that team. Shouldn't be anywhere near it.
Absolutely.
You know?
What have you made? I mean, stories came out. Obviously, when we think about United moving guys out of the building, Maguire comes to mind, McTominay comes to mind, stuff like that. But both boys have been kind of talking about the fact that kind of they want to stay and fight for their place and be a part of United and stuff like that, and kind of reluctant to move. How do you think United will deal with that?
Listen, I completely understand what they're saying, and you know, I've no doubt I'd prefer to stay at Man United as well. But if it's not happening, if you're not getting a spot, I think there's a conversation going to have to be had there, for a McTominay and for a Maguire, where you say, listen, lads, unfortunately, what we've got or what we're bringing is slightly more of what we need, and that moves you down the pecking order. And in that case, we don't necessarily have those kind of funds to sit you on a bench. You know, we need to garner some sort of a transfer fee, and you need to go and play football because you only get one career. So don't waste it sitting on a bench, be it for Man United or anybody else.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And you're already kind of caught in a pecking order already.
Well, so I mean, Maguire's
4th
choice of what we have. And that's behind Lindelof, Varane and Martinez, and possibly Luke Shaw, who's a left back.
Yeah. Mark, with Newcastle having Champions League now as well, do you think they can keep up the pace from last season? Obviously, it depends who they sign, but what do you think, lads? I think it could be difficult for them.
Very difficult.
That move back into the Champions League is a massive step. And I think... Do I think they would go mad in the transfer window? No, I think they're slightly cautious in their approach. Do I think they need to? Probably somewhat. I think they need to raise the quality somewhat in order to have any chance of doing that. But we'll see what happens. We know how shrewd Eddie Howe is. They could do some really good business without us even realising.
I think even with the really good business, I do think they'll do great business. But I think the bigger issue is, and we've seen this, I'm not a fan of teams having to go and play Thursday nights in that Europa because I think it affects their league form. Right? And this is something I mentioned all year, right? And we've seen it with West Ham, won the trophy, but did it affect their league position? Sacrifice the league. Now, I think with Newcastle, if they go and roll the dice in the Champions League, it will absolutely 110% affect their Premier League position. So do you then say, okay, well, we're dipping our toe in here, but we're dipping her in very gently. And if we go out by Christmas, it's no huge big deal. We're just putting the feelers down to do this in a season or two. I think if they go guns blazing and try and win a few games and maybe get to the knockout stages, you could see them come into trouble in the league and drop down even out of that top 6.
Or even dump themselves into Thursday night football.
Absolutely. Yeah. And nobody wants to go to Azerbaijan on a Thursday night. It's not the place to be. It's not even a cheap student night where you get 2 for 1 around.
I know, yeah, and it's affecting our schedule as well on this podcast as well. It's going to interrupt things there. What do you think football genius or great businessman Todd's objectives will be for Poch?
I think he's looking at what he just spent money on, and he wants to see can Poch get a tune out of any of it. Because I think that's huge. I think I've just outlaid a huge amount of money. I need to see can this guy get a tune out of what I have. Mudrick, the boy Christopher Nkunku, the lad Maduaki on the other side, Fernandez through the middle, Badiashile, Fafana, Malo Gusto. I think he'll want to see what Pochettino can do with these guys first. Can he get them playing in the right kind of manner? The Carney, Chukwuemeka, guys like that. I think if he can get something out of those guys, I think Bowley will give him a few more quid and say, okay, you've proved a little bit to me. We'll give you a spin. But I think without that and without serious numbers leaving the room there at Chelsea, I think they're going to really struggle in the market.
Yeah, we're going to see. I think we're going to see a very different Chelsea side come August. Being honest, I think Poch is the one thing about Poch, he doesn't really suffer fools gladly either. But it's hard to know what way he's going to go. He's kind of intertwined in it now in terms of that bloated squad and the loan book and the money they paid and what they need to get in and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a difficult one, but we shall see. This is one where he has to stick with him, doesn't he? He has to find a way to stick with him. He can't just revolve it out again. Rice will be a City player because of England teammates, and he wants to be lifting cups. There's a fair argument for that.
They've been asked to be kept informed, I believe, is what they've said. So if West Ham get to a stage where they're going to accept a bid from Arsenal for 85 plus 15 add-ons, City might go, we'll deal at that. We'll go and match it, and then give the player the option of London or Manchester, Pep or Arteta. And I think if that's the case, there's only one winner.
Yeah, absolutely. Thoughts on Pickford linked to United? I think we have that in the WhatsApp group as well, didn't we? Some strange links going on at the moment, isn't there?
There is, yeah. And I got to be honest, I find that a massively strange link. Massively. Not because the kid's not, England number 1. Not because his shot stopping isn't at times unbelievable. I would say almost single-handedly kept Everton in the league, especially at the end of last season. Was very, very good. But if you're looking at us as a team, and one of the issues with De Gea is the work with his feet isn't good enough. Pickford's exactly the same. You'd be swapping like for like, as in a guy who's a really good shot stopper, who isn't unbelievable under a cross and isn't great with his feet. Why would you swap what we have for a guy of similar ilk?
And not near as nice a human being.
Right? So
just putting that in there as well. Acers is in double fridge freezer on sale on Tottenham Club store when he signs. Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to everyone in the podcast on the upper tier. Absolutely. Shout out to all you guys. We really appreciate it. Ted's in. Dazzler, you looking to buy replica tickets to the United Bilbao game, mate? Just remember, you're as much of a fan if you buy them as if you buy the real ones. Is that an internal joke between you and him on WhatsApp or something?
There's a little bit of a private joke there, myself and Ted.
Oh, okay.
All these football fans looking to buy cheap rip-off jerseys.
Terrible
now
they're terrible people.
well, listen, it's those lads buying those cheap jerseys that drive the price of the real jerseys up for the rest of us. I've said this 1,000 times. If everybody went out and bought one of the real deals, they would keep the price lower. But because some guys go out and buy four of the dud ones for the same price as one as the other ones, we get jacked with another couple of euro every season. And that's just the way it works.
If you're paying for four of the dud ones, what you pay for one of the real ones, you need to look in the mirror and check yourself. Because you're not doing a good job either. Just saying. Yeah. My McAllister shirt is on the way anyway. I'm happy.
Well, like if you were getting a real one for $80, yeah.
No one gets shirts these days for $80. You'd be doing really well these days. It's gone ridiculous.
No, the home jersey would be about 80 quid.
Do you know what my biggest dilemma was the other day? I was ordering the jerseys.
What size to get?
No, that's always a dilemma. Don't worry about that. No, but my biggest dilemma was, where it comes up and it offers you, obviously, the name and the number and all that stuff. But then,
oh, no. Do I get the Europa League badges on it or not?
And you know what I said to myself?
Absolutely not.
I said I couldn't bring myself to do it with a World Cup winner on the jersey.
You're right. You're wholeheartedly right.
Couldn't do it. I'd be
letting myself just get the Premier League badges on it as usual and keep life the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I was kind of saying, had you got any Super League ones? Hasn't come out yet. Acer's Community Shield is on the same time as the United Bilbao game. Yeah, I think I'd rather watch the United Bilbao game, and I'm a Liverpool.
I was going to say, at least there'd be more supporters. There'd be more supporters at the United Bilbao game.
I think it'd be more competitive.
Probably.
Mark's in €90 for a replica, 120 for a player version. Yeah, it's crazy, and that's before you even start getting anything on it.
And Marky, we're not built for the players version, so the 90 bills works for us. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be wearing something that's sleek and cut in under the arms and all. Me show you how that, will you?
I told you the story when I started working with a big lad years ago, and Spurs brought out those fishing jerseys. Good Lord, it was scary. It was scary. Myself and Darren are not built for the Lance Armstrong look on the bike.
We sure aren't.
Morris, only making millionaires rich or be grand. Only making millionaires billionaires. That's what happens there. I get me jerseys from Rent a Tent. I buy mine in the bedding section.
Are you after a double or a king size, pal?
Give me the duvet cover, hold the pillowcases. It's all good. I don't need them. There you go. Well, anyway, fun again as always having you on. Just over the hour there. Hope everyone enjoyed the show. Ted is in again. United Bilbao game was fully sold out within an hour, and people selling them for 200 quid a pop now.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's one thing. I hate those ticket touts and stuff like that. I don't really like anyone who makes money off reselling tickets and stuff like that. I think that's a horrible practice as well. Just saying. And I think that's what drives up the season ticket prices as well. I think that's a really important thing to put out there as well.
I can't keep me breath with you tonight.
Shame on those people. Shame on those people. That's all I'll say.
Well, what I will tell you is the fixtures come out today. And my phone was extremely busy all day with people looking for United tickets for the home games. So I have my season tickets, and if I'm not using them, I'm allowed to pass them on to friends and family. So I will be doing that on a number of occasions.
I often sometimes look at your family tree and I think of friends and family, and I can't believe the size of it, to be honest. Just saying. How many shock emojis did you drop on how many of those messages today?
Well, my mother, just to get this out here, is one of 18 children. And those 18 children probably have another 50 children. 7 or 6 in my house. My uncle is another 6, probably more. So I would have a large.
And not one of them are getting a ticket.
I would have there's a couple of them in the mix. I would have a huge family tree, and if we really want to go one further, my father's adopted. So
there you go.
we have a part of the family in the west, and part of the family in South Dublin.
South Dublin.
So yeah.
Jeez, I tell you, no flies on you.
14 Convent Road, Dunleary, no less.
I can say this now, Acers, from talking to Darren in private, that he can't wait to see that Qatar Airways on the front of the jersey. Man. And he'll never book Ryanair again. It'll be Qatar all the time.
I've never booked Ryanair anyway. That's why we took a boat to Cardiff.
I went to Lifestyle and your one says to me, "What size are you?" I said, "Gazebo size." She probably looked it up on her phone, did she? Shout out to our sponsor, Soccer Out 3. Absolutely, 100%. Just saying, Jesus, Grandad Dazzler was a pumping machine.
He was. Grandad was in the army, and my granny said, "You didn't say no to your Grandad."
Amazon Fire Sticks, Ted, only came out in 2017, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Just saying.
And the youngest of my uncles is like 62, so they're a few years ago.
Morris wants your tickets for the Arsenal game.
It's the second row. It's the second row behind the goal on the Stretford end, Morris. You don't want to sit there; they'll eat you alive.
You wouldn't enjoy it.
You wouldn't enjoy it, and they'd smell London off you. Which are big time charity fucking.
You might have to pretend and start clapping for Harry Kane if he scores the winner.
Absolutely, when he dribbles on his own chin, dribbles past Saliba and sticks it in the top bin.
For the saving he'd make, Morris was sending me some of the costs today for our friends over in Champions Travel. 700-800 quid a trip.
Every time I see a sponsored advert on Facebook for Champions Travel, Morris is one of the first people to write underneath it to say, "And will we be needed to remortgage the house to get a ticket this time?"
Yeah, pretty much. Mark Dazzler, if you get all the family to subscribe, you will be on 10,000 subscribers. That's a very good point, actually. Yeah,
it's not a bad shout out. Yeah, you're right, Marky.
Get on it. Yeah, you can book a ticket so long as you subscribe and prove to us. Dazzler's family drop. Give them 20 push-ups. Absolutely. Ted, our Mark, she asked me the same. I told her 2 inches, but I have a fair amount of weight plowing in. Now give us a double XL jersey. That you ain't never touching a double XL jersey, mate.
Ever.
Don't forget the fella in the green and white shirt. Yeah, piece of your man on the Lewis line. Brilliant. I'll wear one of your tops.
And what would you do? Wrap yourself in it like a fucking cask?
You might need 3 of you.
Fucking hell, Morris. I'd probably get you in the spare bit I have over at the minute. Like,
you could borrow one of Brody's.
He could, but Tallulah's got one.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's it, folks. Another show in the bag. Don't forget, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on Henry's channel, we're going to be talking a bit of WWE and a bit of wrestling and a little bit of football as well, like a fan interview type style thing. Of course, I'll still be dropping the morning brews, as they're called now, with all the transfer news and stuff like that. Plenty of content going out, plus the shorts. Next week, I will be doing a preview for Forbidden Door. I'll be talking more transfer news and anything else that happens. And of course, we may even jump on and do a show if this takeover is finalised.
We just might.
Celebration on one side of the screen and tears on the other side of the screen as I stare down the barrel of another 30 years potentially in the wilderness. Let's see what happens. Until next time, folks, a pleasure having you on as always. Subscribe to all the channels, including my one, especially mine and Darren's, the upper tier. Check out, of course, the Liverpool content, the Shankly sessions. Check out the audio shows. Subscribe, hit the bell notification. You know the rundown. Like on the video. And we'll be back again real soon. Cheers, my friend.
And a big happy Father's Day to all the lads in the comments.
We have to finish with that one.
And a tea towel your choice there, 100%.
No, I'll go bald like you, Sam. No, do you know, I did it one time and Hillary threatened to leave me. We were only going out with each other. And I went in, I got a blade one time on the head in a barber's. And I called in for her and she said, do you know what she was complaining about? The Wi-Fi bars on the back of me neck from the rolls of fat. There you go. With that, I'll leave you with that thought. And until next time, folks, it's been a
Toodles.
pleasure.